Some tips for your intercooler, STi 04, MY04. I just like to spray everything down with just a little light mist at WD-40 on these hoses. Even the bolts, they just come out cleaner. So you got two 12mm right here, right here. Those are on some rubber shock mounts there. You have one hose here for your air here, PCV whole system jammy. One hose up top here, one hose over here. These just with a little WD, they just slide right off. One 8mm right here for your intercooler to throttle body, and then two 12mm here. But if you keep taking these off and you're threading it all the time, it might even be easier to just slide this off and just slide this little bracket over in here if you've got some needle nose pliers in there. There's a small little, those two tabs that you can see is holding the bypass valve onto the intake track, and this way you can keep this on, and when you lift this off, now here I got a really cool way. Instead of taking this off and on all the time, which you will start to just, you'll have to move the turbo a lot. Sometimes if you're doing this all the time, not all the time, but you know, if you maintenance it every once in a while and you're taking this off for other reasons, filling up your transmission, you could start playing around with stuff. You'll have to really forcefully with a shoehorn, and sometimes people put it on, and you'll start to wiggle loose your intake inlet here for your turbo, and it's just, all things can happen over here if you really start adding pressure to there. So what I like to do is I come around to this bolt, and I'll show you later how this is going to work. If you look in there, we've got the red hose. I can't get a shot of it. It's way deep in there. Okay, there it is. There's an 8mm on the red hose. That connects your intercooler right here. Y pipe is right there, what we're looking at. And that red hose right there is what puts the intercooler to your turbo. So we're going to take this 8mm and loosen it up with an extension. And then this will aid later in putting it back on. It's so much easier than trying to screw with, like I said, this method over here, which it'll definitely fray yours. Mine's been frayed, and I already cut it a little. I had to cut the lip down on here, right here, because it was mangled from trying to put it back onto the turbo. Sometimes you fray it. It's just bad news. So what I do here is I'll get an extension. Let me see. Intercooler slides right off. I just took the bolts out. They were good. As long as you don't over tighten these, you should be okay with just taking that off. Taking those bolts off. You can even use some blue Loctite next time just to put something in there. Now, one thing I wanted to show you is the PCV valve in a 2004. I'm not sure about the 2005, so I believe that's where it went, to where the PCV valve, a little leaf in there. Let me show you from in here. Here's the front of the car. Okay, we're going to go up inside, tilt around here towards the wheel, just to show you what we're looking at here. And then we're going to come inside here and then turn around towards the front of the car, just so I can show you. The 2005, I believe, here's your throttle body, was below this hose. This is where the PCV valve on a 2005 and up is, and any earlier WRXs, I believe. But the 2004, this hose is in the way. I don't want to take it out because it's perfectly positioned where you can put this in. So if we can see down here, see this little metal piece? See a little white piece of tape? And there's a little metal piece with a black plastic connector to it. That's your PCV valve, this little threaded piece. I'll come around towards the front of the car now. We'll look from above so I can point it out to you. I'll get something to point with. This right here. That is a plastic piece that holds the PCV valve. There's your PCV valve. You can get a wrench on it. Now, they don't suggest that you take this off of here because the plastic piece could crack, causing a vacuum leak. That'll screw you up. So, this is a smaller, as you can see, the hose is really small that connects to the top of the PCV valve here. But I would suggest doing this. Works really well. I've done this on my SVT Focus a lot because that used to have just crazy, you know, a 4-cylinder, high-revving 4-cylinder. I was dumping oil into the intake all the time. So PCV valve got clogged really quickly, probably within 30,000 miles. Now what you do is you just, if you can loosen these hoses here and take this plastic piece along with the PCV valve out. So it's one unit. You'll have the plastic piece, the PCV valve. You can take some, like, this really works, some fuel injection intake cleaner or something like that. Maybe even some non-chlorinated brake parts cleaner. That stuff dries up pretty well. As long as you clean it right, you can clean that PCV valve out. Just make sure you flush it out right, clean it, make sure that it rattles. You'll hear it rattle, and that means you loosen it up. If you take it off right now and it doesn't rattle, you might have some issues. Now, might even be easier right now to take off this hose, which we might have to take off anyway, which is the bypass valve, not a blow-off valve. This is a recirculating bypass valve back into the intake tract, which is right here from the air filter. This is your turbo inlet hose. A lot of people change these. There's you know, they have the what the hell, silicone or whatever they use. And, you know, those just tend to be a little... You're putting your intercooler back on, just lay it down in there. You know, make sure your bypass valve's up, everything's, you know, nothing's rubbing against anything. And just set it up so where it's just about to go in. You can unloosen both these hose clamps. And you can see right here and back. You can't really see it from here, but it's just about to go into the Y pipe. So, this is way easier than finagling it back there, and then you just have to go in with your extension and get into there. So now you're just gonna, you can use your eye right from here, bend down, and you can get into there and connect your Y pipe and your intercooler at the same time, and that's it, you're done. Way easy. Way easy.